Good evening and welcome to The Real Study with your hosts, Mr. Snitbits,
Welcome back to A Real Study.
Black Girl Marvel,
But I didn't know what I was getting myself into.
Mr. Marvelite,
not knowing anything about the film.
all the movie things,
And like I was locked in right away.
the pre-review with Super Gummy Guru,
Preview.
and me, the Real Study movie voice guy. Let's go to the poster wall.
Good evening and welcome to The Real Study. This is Season 1, Episode 29, and I am Mr. Snidbits. And with me, as always, is Black Girl Marvel to my left. And tonight we do also, of course, have Mr. Marvelite. No all the movie things and no guest this evening. And oddly enough,
I'm the guest now.
Yeah, you are not. You are definitely a solid host on this show. Tonight we're doing Chippendale Rescue Rangers, also available on Disney Plus. If you guys want to check that out, if you haven't already, hopefully you have. Otherwise, we'll get into those other three movies here in a few minutes. But let's move over to the drive-in and say hi. How you guys doing?
Doing all right.
Good.
It's been a weekend. I will tell you. I will just say that. Whew, I'm ready. I'm ready for the week, so I can get back to the next weekend.
You're ready to get through your week for the next weekend already.
Yes.
And the weekend's still.
That's kind of how I'm feeling.
We're still on it. I'm with you. I have so many things to do tomorrow that I'm weirdly anxious to get to them so that it can be done. Anyway, that said, we are going to review only one film tonight. This is a strange Real Study episode. We usually do at least 3 films.
Yep.
But this was, let's just call it a snafu. So we'll do one episode or one movie, and then we're going to have a generalized discussion for anybody who wants to join that discussion and or talk to us in the chat. And we're open to topics, and we'll talk about that here in a little bit. First of all, we've got a chipmunk movie to talk about.
Yes, we do.
Who wants to talk about the chipmunks first? Lots of
I'll go
volunteers.
for it.
Okay,
I'll
go
go
for it,
for it.
Mr. Marvelite.
Hopefully, I'm not there's a dissenting view from mine apart. Listen, okay. So first of all, this is not a movie that I think was in many people's radar. I feel like this thing kind of just was like, oh, they're gonna do this. It's gonna go to Disney Plus. Yeah, that sounds neat. It's gonna be probably like a throwaway Disney Plus movie. And then for whatever reason, Disney decided to do something with this that I didn't expect, and that was go like full Who Framed Roger Rabbit. To the point of where I was reading about something about this movie, and it was like, how did they get? And okay, spoilers if you're watching and whatever. We're gonna be dropping spoilers, but even to the point of where we had Ugly Sonic, and they were, they were referencing characters from other properties that Disney doesn't have the rights to. And what's funny is the director was asked about it, and they never got permission from Paramount to do that. They just made him visibly different than the Ugly Sonic that was in the trailer so that they could reference him. And they always call him Ugly Sonic. They never just call him Sonic. They always called him Ugly Sonic. And so they basically bootlegged all of the characters that they referenced from other properties that they didn't get the rights for. The lawyer just made sure that they were they were crossing the T's and dotting the I's. And we had all of these Easter eggs from other things, which I thought was very interesting, and it was very much a play on itself. It was a joke to the whole like the genre in a sense of like these characters. The only thing that I will say, and I don't know if anybody felt like this, but there was a bit of an upset with Peter Pan being the villain.
Really?
Because they made Peter Pan this villain who aged out and was basically washed up, and the studio wouldn't take him. He goes off and is basically on the streets, and he goes to a life of crime. It is very similar to the human actor who played the voice of Peter Pan. The kid was actually hired to do a whole bunch of stuff, and he voiced Peter Pan in the movie. And when he hit puberty, Walt Disney dropped him, and he ended up like living on the streets and homeless, ended up dying at the age of 30. So like a lot of people were like, that's a little bit too on the nose. But ultimately I liked a lot of the stuff, the references. It was definitely something for me because I'm a huge Easter egg like fan. And so just kind of going into it, and I will say, I told you guys I didn't like Andy Sandberg, but I really liked him in this movie. Like I thought he did a great job, which like I feel like I'm a hypocrite now, but like maybe it's only because he was right next to John Mulaney in this, like voicing these two characters, and I thought they did a great job. And then of course we did an Andy Sandberg movie that had J.K. Simmons in it, and then again
Mhm.
this week we're doing an Andy Sandberg movie
That
with
has
J.K.
J.K.
Simmons
Simmons
in
in
it.
it, right?
Yeah, it's almost to the point of where it's kind of ridiculous, but I loved it. But that's my initial thoughts. So you guys go ahead and eviscerate it if you want.
Lala, what do you got for us?
Okay, well, we all know I always wanted to do more like animation type stuff. So
Hmm.
this was like this was nice. And like Who Framed Roger Rabbit might be one of my favorite movies. So like
Nice.
to see that type of genre, I guess, come back in more of an updated way was pretty cool. I used to watch Rescue Rangers as a kid. I probably couldn't tell you any episodes because that's how long it's been since I've seen the episodes, but I know the initial characters.
Does
It
that
was
mean you're
like
the
very
villain?
no,
Sorry, that was one of their
maybe.
theories. Sorry, that the villain
Maybe.
wouldn't know episodes.
Um, no, that was, and I was thinking about that too. I was like, is she shady? I was like, what's the? But they, but they played it back. But like, I don't know. Like this movie was like filled with like a lot of nostalgia, a lot of like. I just felt very comfortable in this movie. I don't know if that's weird to say. Like, I just felt like, okay, what else could go wrong, but it's gonna go right at the same time. You know what I mean? Like, I just felt
Mhm.
so comfortable watching this film. Um, I've always loved Andy Samberg, so there was no denying that it was really great. I feel like John Mulaney is one of those actors who, because his voice is already kind of like comical and animated, that he could be any character and make it something.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Um, just make it something. But I did like a thousand Easter eggs of like different characters across different things. Like John Mulaney is on Big Mouth on Netflix, and they had a Big Mouth character be one of the cops in the precinct. It was just like to see all these. I honestly feel like this film is genius. I really, really do, because just the plot itself made a lot of sense. Um, to touch on what Mr. Marvel was talking about with the whole Peter Pan thing, I didn't know that about the OG, like the voice actor. With me not knowing that going into this movie and that being the catalyst for like why he's like the bad guy, I actually liked it. I liked that they took like something as like he was like Peter Pan was kind of like the first. He wasn't, but he was like in a way. I think like with their animations, like up there as like some of the first to like do like Walt Disney and that company like justice. And I feel like that was just a good little turn of his head. Like he did grow up, he did age out, and then it is very real life. Like even though it was like animated, like you can see that happiness and like to like an actual like to somebody in real life. So for Mr. Marvel like to like show us that did actually happen. I don't know if it changes how I feel about the movie, but I just thought this movie was genius to have it so that he changed them in ways that like made them bootlegs. I thought that was hilarious. I
Hmm.
like literally laughed out loud when that was. It's just I don't know. I thought the writing was great when you bring something back as nostalgic as like Chippendale or any kind of like Scrooge McDucky, Darkwing Duck. Because I do want a Darkwing Duck. Because when they were saying that in
Who
the movie,
doesn't want Darkwing Duck, right?
I was like, dude, Darkwing Duck next. But like when you bring something back like that, it has to like be nostalgic. It has to like still be a smart plot or something that you can kind of like get through, like some meat and potatoes to it. And I feel like that's hard to do, and I feel like this movie kind of nailed it.
All right, all right. So I loved how they basically turned it on its head and said that they're just actors in Hollywood, and you don't get this as often in films. And I do appreciate that they even explained their voices not being high
The
pitch, right?
same.
I love that they
Mhm.
were like those were characters that Chip and Dale came up with for their Chip and Dale,
Mhm.
which we have plenty of actors that have done, themselves on variety shows and other various shows. So like I like that there was a referential to television and movies going way back.
Yep.
Um, I did. I have one thing that bothers me, and I'll get it out of the way, and then we can talk about the positive stuff because I did enjoy this movie. I did have fun with it, but turning Dale 3D and then not turning Chip 3D was odd. Mostly because they then did cartoons later together that were 2D, but Dale was still 3D in them, and they show all of that. And I thought that was really, really strange, especially since they had the plot device to change Chip into 3D or change Dale back. They had the plot
Chip's
device.
body's Chip's choice.
No, I'm not saying they. I'm saying that the plot could have changed it. I'm not saying that those, not saying the bad guys or any people should have. I'm not saying Chip should have done it to Dale or vice versa.
No,
But-
I wouldn't want it to change because I feel like even though Miss Marvel, like I said, my body Chip's choice, I do feel like that's a part of the thing. Like it showed just how different they both were. Like to me, that's how I looked at it because it showed like Dale was the one. I think, yeah, Dale was the one that was like, okay, I'm more with the times. I'm more like he's on Instagram. He's like
Right. He's
of
on
course
TikTok,
He would go
right.
he's on TikTok, right? Like of course he would go get like plastic surgery. Whereas Chip is like, I've learned how to live this nice, mediocre, like clean life. I like who I am. I don't need to change anything, but also still kind of lives in the past. I love that it just didn't change. He's like, this is who I am.
I
But,
guess I don't know. I think
I just kind of looked at it like that.
somebody mentioned this movie was like a fever dream, and I think it's because of the 3D. If the 3D weren't there and it was just Roger Rabbit style, I think this would have worked even better. I think this would have been like an 8.5, 9 according to IMDb. It gets a 7.2, by the way, which is still a solid rating for an animated movie.
Yeah, on a streaming service,
Especially for a
absolutely.
streaming service, like not a release to theater film. And I
Right.
do, I don't think this is like Moana. I don't think this is, Inside
No,
Out,
yeah.
but I
Right.
did have fun. I wasn't disappointed. This wasn't 8-bit Christmas to me. Like this was the nostalgia. The nostalgia in that one I had problems with. This one, the nostalgia worked for me because I was 12 when Chip and Dale came out. So of course I was still watching cartoons because look at me. I still do that. Anyway, so
We still watch cartoons. What are you talking
exactly. So like when I was 12, I might not have like run around telling my friends I did it, but I still watched cartoons. And
about? Yeah, but once you found that friend that kind of slipped up and you realized that you both like the same thing,
right, then we would talk in
that
secret.
then became
right?
your best friend
Right.
immediately.
Absolutely. And we would talk about it in secret or, or they'd come
That was
over
like me
and we'd
with
do
Power
Saturday mornings
Rangers,
or
yep.
whatever. Right, exactly. So I really did love the show. This one, Tiny Toons, all the shows in the early 90s or late
Yeah.
80s, early 90s were like my super jam until I got to high school, whatever. And then it all stopped. So I did appreciate most of the references, but this
Came back around.
this movie was more adult than I expected it to be. There were some references that were kind of disturbing, and then, like you were talking about, Mr. Marvel, like it's almost like Disney self-referentiating their evil empire in a way,
But here
and aware of it, but then sick of people ripping them off. So they clowned on those people as well. They clowned on everybody. Like they literally clowned on Nickelodeon. They were just like,
But if
everybody
they
in
were
the
really
business sucks.
depicting Disney in this, like they would have found all those bootleggers. Like the police wouldn't have had a chance because Disney has bloodhounds that goes after bootleggers.
Right.
Like that's like a thing. But what was really funny was this movie immediately reminded me of another movie that kind of did try to do this. And as soon as I say it, you're gonna be like, yeah, I completely agree. It's not cartoony, but it was like the same concept. And I was waiting for them to go even darker, but they never did it. And I'm like, okay, this makes perfect sense then. The movie I'm talking about is Happy Time Murders.
Mm-hmm.
This movie was very referential in the same way that Happy Time Murders tried to be, without being gross and unnecessary in some cases. And of course, having Melissa McCarthy, like that's another thing. But it was definitely like I could see where they were going, where they were basically just kind of messing. I mean, they even did like some of the characters were like bootlegs of their own Disney properties. Like the baker was like definitely the Swedish Chef.
Right.
It was like
even Monterey Jack ended up being Dumboed. Like they turned him into another
Yes.
character of Disney. So like, yeah, there was a lot of that. I didn't like how they sidelined Gidget again. Like, I know,
Same.
that bothered me a bit. I wanted to see her. I was excited to see more of her.
Yeah.
I didn't mind
they
that the fly
referenced
could
her,
talk.
Like they referenced her a couple of times, and I was just like, "Oh, you about to go get her?" And then it was like, "No." And then they did it again. I was like, "Oh, you about to go get her?" Oh no. And I'm like, "Oh, okay, so we're gonna bring her in at the end, just tied in, just so you can say that they had everybody else."
Yeah, and they referenced her being more successful than the rest of them because she was like on Popular Mechanics and stuff like that. But they didn't really give her like I'm sorry. As much as I love Chip and Dale, like I really liked Gidget. Like that was my
fan
character.
favorite. Like that's a fan favorite. Like, yeah.
But I think they knew that they couldn't bring her in until the end, because if they did, it wouldn't be Chip and Dale. It would have
Also,
been about her.
can we also talk about how when they had Baloo in the movie that they gave us the like new Jungle Book Baloo rather than Baloo from freaking Tailspin?
Honestly, because well, yeah,
Because he got the 3D surgery.
I understand, but he wasn't even wearing the Tailspin outfit at all, even at Comic-Con, which he should have been. But I guess since he had the upgrade surgery, the CGI surgery, which I think was
Right.
that
And
was
he's presenting himself as his last role.
I
It's
know,
like
I understand. That's the role he's popular for, and that's how Comic-Con works. I understand
That's how yeah.
they did logic it through, but I would have
They did.
really had a little bit more nostalgia with him with the pilot's, outfit and like, I don't know. That's
But
just
the amount of jabs that they gave to animation, like Uncanny Alley and
That
the
was
Polar Express
disturbing.
eyes,
oh yeah.
Uncanny.
and then Seth Rogen
Alley
meeting
is-
himself.
Yeah, that was
All his
amazing.
characters,
Oh,
I love that scene. All his characters
Perfect.
that came in, that was so good. I was just like,
like they're
that's
all
why I
doing the
feel
laugh.
like that's why I feel like this film was just like in my book.
I'm just
like,
looking at you with your dead eyes.
genius because it was
No,
just.
I'm looking right at you. Sorry,
Who
Rala.
would have thought of these? Who would have thought of these little things to put in? Who would have thought to be like, oh yeah, Seth Rogen has voiced a lot of characters over the years. Let's put them all together in one scene. I thought that was hilarious.
I
They've
get
gone
the
on
feeling
Twitter
they're all
and they've
sitting
listened
there.
to people memeing all
Right.
of these things.
Right.
That's exactly what they did. I mean, we had Jimmy Neutron hair. We had, we had Dumbo, the Dumbo years with him being Dumboed.
Mhm.
There was just so many little things.
when
And then
when he became that big amalgamation of everything, he had like one of Woody's legs.
Wreck-It Ralph. No, they were
A
all villains.
Transformer?
No, they were all villains. So you got to look.
No,
they were.
No, they weren't because
No,
he had
Woody
Woody's.
was- Woody's
he had
leg was
Woody's
there.
leg.
Really?
it
Woody's
was
leg
Woody.
was there.
It was
yeah.
Woody's leg. It was also Optimus Prime's leg.
Yeah.
He had Zurg's
And-
hand with the gun,
And then
which
Wreck-It
also had the
Ralph.
shoulder pad
Wreck-It
from
Ralph.
the
I
Shredder
got.
from the Ninja
He had
Turtles.
Ursula's voice at one point.
Had the Cheshire Cat's face.
Face, yeah.
So that's why it made me feel like they were all villains. But I don't know. Now I have to
No,
rewatch it.
but it was literally Woody's leg, and then it even had the Shredder's shoulder pad, which like I went back, I did it with a watch party. I'm like, did you see that? And you had to go back and look because it was like Shredder's, because like that whole scene until they did they referenced the cartoon that they kept showing over and over again throughout the movie.
Mhm.
It definitely felt like Ninja Turtles 2 with the Super Shredder at the
Oh
dock.
yeah, at the docks. It did.
Like, I was waiting
Honestly,
for
it
that.
Did. Yeah, it did. I could agree to that. It did. That's why I think this movie is just so funny. It's just so funny and smart. I feel like we need more movies like that that don't take themselves too seriously.
Oh,
They could
Yzma
just-
as a kitten.
They can just
That's
come
what it
on and
was.
like just come on and put on a show and just like go. It doesn't have to be like a deep thinker or something you gotta like really sit and digest. This was just like a fun thing to watch. A weird, fun thing that you wouldn't think you liked, but you end up liking.
Yeah, again, I swear, if they had just not done 3D, or at least here was my other thought, because this was part of my thought from earlier. Had they had it be like a natural thing that all tunes progressed into CGI naturally, like they couldn't choose. It just was what happened to people. Like we all evolve as a society, and so their society evolving would be the CGI evolving.
Right, but if they were the
Yeah, but-
same as us, it wouldn't have been like a fun movie to see something like that. And they're supposed to be like kind of like living in our world.
I mean, this went through like generations.
supposed to like
of-
mimic our world, but
yeah.
I thought it was funny.
I mean, I did like the black and white news, and it was the like stretchy armed, like wicked
yeah.
old character.
She's like 3D in your face. I was like,
right.
that's yes.
And like,
that's
can we
right
say
now.
like J.K. Simmons' character was like a direct reference to Gumby, and like never once was Gumby mentioned. I think except for no, I think when he was in that battle with the girl,
She called him
mentioned something about Gumby.
Rubber or Gumby.
No,
or
that was
Stretchy.
at the end. That was at the end when he was in the Ziploc bag, like the evidence
Yeah.
bag. And she was like, you like low budget Gumby, or you
Yes, that's
There
what
it
it
was.
something
was.
like that.
I love that he kept getting
Yeah.
stuff stuck to him, and it was like a nuisance in his life that kept
And
happening.
then he brought it up, like he was just like, "Is it on my face like Silly Putty? Remember
Right.
Silly Putty?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I remember Silly Putty."
I did
That's
like
like
the villain that was just like, no, just money. Like I like these villains in the last 10 years where they're just like, here it is, here's the plot device. I don't care if you know, let's
Mhm.
just move forward because the more important part
Yeah.
is that you're going to stop me.
And the fact
I'll-
that J.K. Simmons played this Gumby character, but it was almost like a direct reference to him playing Commissioner Gordon.
It
Mhm.
felt
Like,
yeah.
It felt so much like it. And then like going back to like the Ugly Sonic, when this was like so meta for me when he's like, I need you to help us quick. And he's like, I don't do fast, I do slow. And that's because the only time we ever saw Ugly Sonic in the trailers was during those slow motion
Mhm.
Gangster's Paradise,
Yeah, moment.
soundtrack
Yeah.
motions, and that was all we got to show how ugly he was. He never was fast in those trailers. It was always in slow motion. So, like, I love the fact he's like, I don't do fast. That's the other Sonic. I do slow.
I do like that they were at Comic-Con. I do like that it was full of past, I was surprised not to see a Muppet though, honestly. I was shocked that there wasn't a Muppet at the Comic-Con of like older celebrities. Um,
You say that, is there a Muppet behind? There's a Muppet behind you.
there's a Muppet behind me.
My,
Yeah,
yeah, I think Kermit's looking at you.
it's Kermit behind you. I think that's so funny.
I'm sorry. Yeah. So they can't see him though. That's what's funny.
No,
Oh,
when
they
he peeks, so when he
can't.
peeks over your shoulder,
Oh,
you
I
can see
can.
him.
It's cut off right here. Yeah. So,
can.
but there is an Einstein over each shoulder. That is actually a little baby stuffed Einstein
Mhm.
because I'm weird. Anyway,
Are you
mm,
a little bit? Okay.
Doesn't look like it to me.
It looks like if Tiffany and Einstein had a baby, like
It
Chucky
looked like I was
Tiffany.
thinking it was like from I was thinking like it was a little figure from Dark Crystal or something.
This is what it looks like.
well, if I'm just gonna, I mean, we got time. We're just hanging out today anyway.
Yeah, come on.
So,
See.
so yeah, this is as I throw him on the floor. This is Stuffy Einstein.
Okay.
okay.
Okay. Okay. Baby Einstein?
Yes, because he's got equals MC squared diaper.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, he's
Awesome.
kind of weird. And then I have my
I was afraid
Amelia
this was becoming a rated R show.
Earhart Stuffy.
Oh, Amelia. Oh, Amelia.
Yeah.
So now you showing me those two characters specifically. I want to go watch Night at the Museum.
Oh yeah, that's a good point.
Battle of
Oh,
the
yeah.
Smithsonian.
That I think I might have showed you guys this before, but this is my stuffy.
Amelia Earhart from-
This is my stuffy zombie virus. I like this guy.
Oh,
So
do you call him
Oh.
COVID-19? No, but Blind Biggie was saying Amelia Earhart from Star Trek Voyager.
I didn't see that episode probably.
There's lots of
No,
there's lots of reference.
Look, it's literally a zombie virus. That's its name. Zombie
Nice.
virus.
Do you know like since we're off top like a little bit off topic anyway, there was a game that when I was at work I used to like playing on my iPad called Plague Inc.
Oh,
It
yeah.
was basically like designing a virus that could like wipe out the entire world.
Mhm.
I have not wanted to play it since COVID-19 hit
Of course not. Too much like real life.
at all.
Yeah, no, I don't play Pandemic, which was one of my favorite board games anymore, and I don't play 2 Points Hospital, even though none of the diseases are real. I still just keep thinking hospital.
Mhm.
and
I stopped playing that game too.
I loved it. Like it was one of my favorite
Mhm.
games because it's fun and hard, but I just couldn't. I had to get my head out of that, and then I won't watch Outbreak or Contagion or those movies anymore. Just way too real now. Way too real.
Yeah.
We don't need them. They were cautionary tales, and we're here.
Yeah,
So
And we realized that we lost the game of life. That's just how it works.
well, we
Yep.
didn't get to like go down the fun road. We went down the like shorter.
Well, here's the
hellish
thing.
road.
Let's just say it this way. I was actually thinking about this with movies and stuff. Ridley Scott, Martin Scorsese, all of them have talked about how Marvel movies like have ruined like theater and the cinema experience. But I realized something. All of them have said this after the pandemic started. So if you really think about it, the people who were awkward and stayed inside and didn't like being comfortable around large groups of people, we're the ones who survived this.
We don't go to the theater as much.
Like just because the reason why they're upset because their movies don't do as well as like a Marvel film is because their audience is dead.
Or smaller.
Yes.
And a lot of people who were older did perish, unfortunately, during this tragedy. And that is going to affect people who are older's products. And
Yeah.
what I think that, and we're on the topic, so why not? That's what the show is about. I think it's an interesting point to be had that cinema has changed. What I think they don't understand is that they need to change with it or
Hmm.
find a new way to get to your audience rather than the same old movie. Either pinch off a bit more for marketing, uh, do something that changes the landscape, or accept that maybe your movies will do better on a streaming service. Because I watched Ridley Scott's Last Duel, and it's great. It's a great film,
Hmm.
but I would never have gone to see it in theaters.
Yeah.
No offense. It's not
And
about that. It's just about ease of access. It's about comfortable at home, and not something
yeah,
I want to torture my wife with necessarily. So,
Also,
yeah,
speaking personally for me, I'm tired of seeing films that don't have people that look like me. So I went through a pandemic of sitting in the house watching things or trying to figure out what to watch, what to see. Don't see myself. So do I want to watch a movie called The Last Duel and it has all these fair faced people that don't look like me? Like I'm tired of. I might watch it now because hey, it's on my HBO Max and I can just
right.
click it and watch it. But like I personally am not going to go pay
hmm
for that out of my pocket when it doesn't represent anybody that looks like me. And then if I ask you why, you will say something like, "Well, wasn't people that look like you in that time," and it's just like I'm tired of hearing that. So why not just focus
yeah.
on something else?
There are
Why
plenty
spend my
of
money on those
examples.
films?
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut in there. I thought you had
No, no,
finished.
you're fine.
There are plenty of things that have shown that you can produce those stories with people of any color or any race because it's
Hmm.
more a representation of the character. If you tell me it's France 1350, I'm going to know it's France 1350 and I'll accept that and then listen to the story
Hmm.
with the talented individuals you've chosen. It does not have
Right.
Hamilton has just broken that mold, and you guys got to get over
Yeah.
that. White
Yeah.
directors, quit it.
Hmm.
Sorry,
What's her
I'm
name?
with you.
Amanda Just Vibin. I believe that's her name on TikTok.
Yep.
She just like released this really quick video where she was like, if you can suspend disbelief for a centaur, you can suspend disbelief for like a black elf or a black character being in something.
Exactly.
And I was just
Exactly.
like, that. She was like, and she's like, good day. And she just like left. It was just a quick little video. And I was just
Hmm.
like, that's literally all people are saying. Like, we get it. It was during this certain time, but we're in 2022, which a time nobody ever thought would exist ever in life for the most part. Get over the fact that, like, I'm going to hire this man or woman or child or whatever because they are good at their job, not because,
Yep.
like, oh, the color of their skin,
To add to
you
that,
know?
shouldn't we be making sure we're learning about those things in I don't know, history class, not in the
You would
movies?
think. You
Like
would think.
movies are still movies, and something that
Yeah.
I've been weirdly looking at screenwriting. That's not that weird, but as I've been looking at, I've been listening to a lot of great screenwriters that I love, and one of the things that I heard Aaron Sorkin say in one of his interviews was straight up characters and real life people are not the same thing. They're not even kind of
No.
the same
No.
thing.
No.
They're
No.
you can't even build them out the same way because real life is
Mm-mm.
not the movies and movies aren't real life.
That's
Mm-mm.
That's people don't
that
realize
is
that. Like,
see
boom.
if you want to keep like accurate depictions of like race and color for something and you want to put it to film, that's called a documentary.
Yeah, there you go.
And those don't go to theaters. Those are documentaries. And even those are not even the full thing. It's usually people talking about the past, and then you may have reenactments. When you have like a period piece where you know that it's playing off of a historical event, it is always dramatized, it is always misrepresented, it is always all these things. Why could we not have people of color being in those parts as well? We understand. It's like, yes, it might confuse people, except for that would be a good conversation to have in school if schools were allowed to even talk about race.
No, that's a good point.
Yeah.
It would drive the
Yeah.
conversation.
And here's the thing, and I'm not trying to get like, but as a parent going in, I'm not worried about my kid learning anything from the school system other than what they're supposed to be educated for, because I'm teaching my kid at home.
Yes, other thing too.
And
People give up that control. They want other
people who
people to
don't want
teach
to be
their kids something
parents,
they need to
Right.
learn.
exactly.
Anything they bring home, you can then explain why it's false or good or whatever it is you agree with or don't agree
Mhm.
with. That's the whole
Yeah,
point of it being kind of a community. The school's doing
yeah.
part of the job.
Save the indoctrination for home. Let the schools just educate.
That's a good point. That's a very good point. Um, you've found more movies that you've liked with representation, though, Law. Is that correct? Over the last 2
Yeah,
years?
yeah, yeah. oh yeah, over the last few, I say like over the last like honestly 5 years. It hasn't been that long, but like I would say like over the last 5 years, like it's slowly becoming like okay, let's just put the best actor. Which I feel like okay, because I feel like certain things, understandably, if I created something and I see these characters a certain way, of course I want those characters to be that way on screen. But that can't be an excuse all the time to be like why you don't. Sometimes you just hire for like the character, right? Like the character and the actor, like they don't have to be like okay, like the Percy Jackson TV show that's coming out. The little girl that's playing Annabeth is a young black girl, and people were losing their minds about the fact that Annabeth wasn't going to be like this blue-eyed, fair-skinned, Caucasian young girl, and the creator of the book literally had to come out and say, "Well, if that is a problem, then you haven't been reading my books and you don't understand the meanings of them." They were like,
Exactly.
he was like a part. I've been a part of this journey with Disney, and we picked the right actress that embodied the character of Annabeth. Like he stood behind her 100%, and like I feel like that's what art needs to be. Like I get it. Sometimes you can make it so that you want this type of flow or this. Maybe it's all white, maybe it's all Asian, maybe it's all black, and it should be okay. But also like that shouldn't be an everyday thing. It shouldn't be your entire work is that.
I think we've had enough all white casts personally. I mean, that's
No,
just me, and
I
that's coming
agree.
from
I
the
agree.
white perspective. When I look back at all the movies I even rank as my top movies, I'm like, jeez, like they're just
Wait,
all white guys. Even like it's all
is
Yeah.
white men across the board, and I start to wonder, do I need to be watching more movies just so I can see if I'm wrong about this list because I feel like I'm wrong about it.
wait,
Um,
so the people that had a problem with her being of African descent, like was that is that a problem? Because like honestly, did they not have a problem with Persephone being played by Eva Mendes in the movie?
No, Rosario Dawson.
Oh, I'm sorry, Rosario Dawson. What I think it was the hair.
Oh.
Had been the hair. I don't know. Was it Rosario Dawson?
Yeah, Rosario Dawson.
Okay. So they didn't have a problem with that because Persephone was a traditionally Greek character.
No, 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 no. It's just no. Persephone is a secondary or actually fifth dairy character. She's not one of the top. You know, it's usually the lead. You know what I mean? They never want a lead
Yeah.
or something of prominent like I don't know. I don't know why I'm saying nobility right now, but prominent nobility is what's popping out of my mouth right now. But they always want that. Like they didn't want Sam to be. They didn't want Anthony Mackie to be Captain America. You know what I'm saying? They were like, well, why is Sebastian Stan like? And
or
it's just one of those
or
things
worse,
with,
they would say that
or maybe they
Dingleberry,
should just
you know,
retire the character,
no,
like maybe, or
the
no,
bad
oh,
guy,
like
yeah,
they
the
like, well, yeah, and
antagonist
they
should have
like,
been, you
and
know,
they like him more or something like that. Like we get it. It's just like, and it's just like I just don't get people's like, why do people feel the need to be like, oh my god, there's a black whatever in this film, like whether it's an elf or whatever, like it's a witch or whatever. Like there, people have such an issue with us being in these spaces where we're the ones that giving the most money for the most part to these spaces so that they keep thriving because we love this stuff too. We love Star Trek and Star Wars and we want to see ourselves represented, but we don't want to see ourselves represented in like stereotypical ways. And then when we complain about it, it's like, well, you got a character, shouldn't that be enough? And it's like, no,
that's like the token black person in horror movies that's been a trope for so
yeah,
long. Like it becomes a problem where it becomes the butt of a joke even like in horror
yeah.
tropes, and it's terrible. Um, we got a couple comments here in the comment section since we are doing a little bit of a side rail here and not talking about Chip and Dale anymore, which we will get back to, I assume. Um, so
Okay.
this is an
So
interesting
here's
one. Yeah, go ahead, Mr.
yeah.
Marblet.
So this has been a thing that I've dealt with on TikToks and stuff before, and it's been a common discourse. Can you take a character that was from the source material, of one race, and then have him cast as another one? Some people will complain about the idea of Jimmy Olsen being played by a black man in Supergirl,
Hmm.
having different characters like that. And the answer is, it is if the story is based off of the person's race and experiences, then you really shouldn't touch that. Hence why you should not worry about somebody questioning whether a Black Panther can be played by a white person, because the Black Panther's from Africa. It's an African nation. He's a person of color. He's established as a person of color, and part of his storyline is based off of that being in the bigger world. So you can't really put it into that category. Now, could Jimmy Olsen, who's always been as like this sidekick to Superman, doing
Just a
photos
reporter,
and working,
just a cameraman.
he's just a reporter. Would changing his race change anything about the character that we've seen in the source material? Absolutely not. Would it add to the story? Absolutely. And so there is this like this ploy. Could like people, and this is where people get mixed up and everything, because we've had talk about a black Batman, which was actually Lucius Fox's son, which is not Bruce Wayne being made black. It's adding a person of color in the Bat family. You have people asking about Kal-El, if he was brought. No, there is a Superman that is black, and it's a different person. Like, they're adding these characters. It's just like the same concern. Sam Wilson is Captain America in the comic books. Captain America, Steve Rogers, a white man, was gone. He handed the shield off. Sam Wilson took it on. When Cap came back, there was a discussion, and Sam and Steve both came to the conclusion we're both Captain America. There is no question about that. Now, where people get upset is this idea that they feel like they're being taken, like they're being replaced, and that's a big conversation in our society right now. But I will tell you this: we are not trying. Bringing people of color and having representation in film and television and everything else is not about replacing people. It is absolutely about adding to.
So
they only add more to the conversation.
One of the things this person, and I can't tell the name. It's very hard to read names that are broken down like that, but it's GZDR forever or 4EV.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, both Elon Musk and Charlize Theron are African Americans. Think about that. So I think you're kind of misrepresenting. There are also Africans who are Arab. That's true. Without a doubt. But the area in Africa in which Wakanda sits is, generally speaking, going to be below where most Arab Africans are found, and not South Africa, which was invaded by the Dutch, which is why there's white Africans. It's not because there are natural white Africans. They're invaded. They did exactly what America did. So to say that is to cherry pick. It's also a red herring. Right. There are many different arguments to say that those two white people, sorry, that's not how this works. So I just wanted to clarify that.
And we're also talking about Wakanda, which is a non-colonized area of Africa in the stories.
Another good point.
Like, they're not going to have Elon Musk and everybody else. Like, it's no.
So yeah, I mean, I could get you one to argue about it, but Locke, go ahead.
I don't want to get into an argument with nobody about nothing, but I will say this. I really don't. But I will say this: being black and being African American are two different things.
Another good point.
As simple as that. It's just two different things. The world labels me as African American, but I did not immigrate from Africa. I was born in America, so I am a Black American.
Mm-hmm. Simple
as that. Now, I don't know how anybody else categorizes it, but that's how I see it. I am a Black American. I am not from Africa, because I'm not. I wasn't born there. I don't have any family there. I have descendants from there.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, Elon Musk and Charlize Theron are both South African Americans, but they are not black. So to kind of put that in the same little box or circle, or however you want to look at it, it's kind of weird. That's all I'm saying.
No, we're with you. We're both with you, and you know that. Now that we've covered the heavy topic,
and you know,
film,
wait.
No,
and
please.
You know what, Biggie? That is okay, because that is a choice that you have decided to make, and you could easily ask a person of color what they would like to be referenced as, because there are a lot of people of color that don't see themselves as people of color. They see themselves as being Dominican or Cuban, or however you want to slice it. So that is respectful in those terms, but also if a person says, "Don't call me that," just ask what they would like to be called and go from there. That's all.
Yeah, that goes beyond even.
Yeah, I was gonna say this applies to gender, right? This is
exactly.
this is just all related to things like that.
it's all about
Yeah.
respecting people and honoring people
Yeah.
and their dignity of being
Yeah.
the individual that they are.
Yeah.
Right.
But he brought
And
up POC, so I just wanted
sure.
to throw that,
Oh yeah.
throw that out there.
No, I like that. Can I go back to Scorsese and these big wig directors?
Yeah.
Because what bothers me about their comments is that I do like their work. I do enjoy Scorsese films. I do enjoy Ridley Scott,
Me too.
especially. Scott is one of the most eclectic directors. If you look
Like,
at his
I want to be in
filmography,
a Ridley Scott. I want to be in a Ridley Scott film.
who doesn't want to be, right? So like, what actor doesn't want to be in a Ridley Scott film, or Scorsese
Mhm.
for that matter? But if you look at like Ridley's filmography, it's really eclectic, like really all over the place. He's not just a sci-fi director; he does human drama. He gets all over the place with it, and it's
Yeah.
fantastic. And what bothers me is that I know he can go further with it. Like I know he can. And
Mhm.
when they want to diss on what's popular currently, it reminds me that when people get old, sometimes they forget what it was like to be young. And when Ridley was young, he was breaking boundaries they were telling him not to break and not to do, and trying to do things that weren't being done before. And that were maybe sometimes a little bit, more formulaic. And maybe the older crowd in the film era was saying, oh, that's very amateurish of you, or, you're making this gory horror film, ooh, good job, Ridley. He doesn't remember that because he did so well with his career that he's now pushing that off on other people. And there's a lot of people in the Marvel, specific community who are directors who are up and coming or who are
Yeah.
making their way through this world. And these are great opportunities for them to get their name out there. Why wouldn't you do that? Like, why would you not take advantage of putting your name on something that's doing well and could make you money so you can start producing your own films? Like, they're missing all of that when just discounting these films.
Yeah. You know how I look at it sometimes? I look at it like when you're like poor and you like eat for scraps, you don't take anything for granted. You're like, I worked hard for this little meat and potatoes I put on my table, and then something happens and you get super rich and you forget about what it was like to be poor and eating that, little meal on that table, and then you have somebody else that like did the same thing, built their way up, got their little potatoes, became something great, and then you're like, ugh, like, why are people going crazy over you? Like, you forget what it's like to be poor. You forget what it's like to work hard. You forget what it's like to finally get to a place. Because honestly, that's Marvel. Marvel was like this scrappy little team that had to sell off parts of themselves just to get something to eat on the table. And now that they kind of like made it, you kind of want to be like tapped on the shoulder by the people that's above you, Scorsese, Ridley, these other people who kind of got it before you, and to have them kind of look at you and be like, ugh, it's like that kind of sucks. It's like y'all were here before. You had to eat like I ate. I made my way up. Why couldn't you just congratulate me? Like, nobody was saying boo when Scorsese kept making the same movie over and over again with the same people, just in different scenarios.
So let's also talk about the fact that who do they really, really need to be putting the blame on? Is it the filmmakers or the audiences spending the money?
Exactly.
If your audience doesn't want to watch your movies anymore, that's not the other filmmakers' problem. That's your problem.
Maybe talk to, because I feel like Marvel and I feel like they listen. I feel like they don't listen to everything, which I'm happy about that. I don't want them to be pushovers because Lord, some of the ideas out here. But
Right.
I feel like Marvel hears, whether we see it or not, they might see our TikToks, they might see the things that we put out, our memes and things like that, or what people say. They kind of pay attention and listen to like what we got to say. And so if other companies didn't treat us like we were dumb, or at least took our advice, and it's free advice we're giving you, nobody's going to charge you if they're like, I had an idea for this and they kind of did what I said, but we can't like sue you for it. So we're literally telling you what we want to see.
Yeah.
They're
not
like,
listening to the live
good.
feedback, right? And let's also not
Not at all.
forget that there are still indie companies, A24, that are doing smashingly well with small budgets and smashingly well with letting a variety of directors and actors take over their films and just run with them.
Come and play.
So, like,
Yeah.
come on, guys. You guys are acting like dinosaurs. Calm down.
Yeah, for sure.
So,
Yeah, you see that hand that went out? He was serious about that. That's
I
serious.
really was. I've been wanting to talk
I
about
love
this
it.
a while. And I don't
I
do
dig
well
it.
in TikTok form. It's too short form for me to go on these rants. Like, I can't, yeah.
That's why you just need to get a YouTube and just record yourself on it.
Or just go live on YouTube and then just clip
Oh
it and
yeah,
post
or
it.
go live. or go live. Yeah, somewhere and flipping the post
Mhm.
everywhere.
As soon as my
You need to
kids
hear
mellow
these
out,
things.
we're gonna start doing
Facts.
things like that. So
Get that.
let's see.
I
What do
don't
we
have
got?
that. I don't have that ability yet. They told me I did, but then like they took it back. I guess. My biggie.
I have not made a 10-minute video on TikTok yet. I've only made a 7.5.
You should only be able to upload past 3 minutes. I didn't think you could actually record past 3.
You can upload to 10.
Right, but you can't
You
record.
can't record 10.
in-
You can,
yeah.
Yep.
Uh, So sticking to the source material, you can
Fine,
never
fine,
go
fine.
wrong with these big screen stories. I disagree.
I mean, I disagree on that too. And I'm sorry to cut you off. I just have to get. I just got
No,
to
you're
get this off my chest. Like the source material is there and it's beautiful, and everybody enjoyed the source material. But what's the point of just taking the source material and just putting it? Nobody needs that. Go back to the source material if that's what you want to, take part in. But I want to see a little bit from the source material, and then just a little creativity as well. Like I want to have that mixture of like let's let's give them something new. It still gives you that feel of the source material, but like I don't want to see a comic book still like still by still. I just don't want to see that. And and if they decided to do it one day, depending on it depends on what it is. But like I like that they add their own like little signature to the
Yeah.
blueprint. It's already there. Like
or even adapt it completely to something different. Scott Pilgrim is a good
Yeah.
example of something that's been adapted very well, still pretty true to the source material, but is not the same as the source material.
Yeah.
The whole point
I
of
see.
you
You're
won't get
worried about
complaints.
complaints.
So
You're worried
again,
about complaints.
like we
that's
don't
the
complaints
that's
get
the
you
lay of the
views.
land.
Oh
Like,
no, you'd still have complaints.
yeah, and complaints will
the-
get you views.
Yeah.
Like,
Listen
so
here,
who cares?
listen here. You're. This is the thing about life in general. You're never gonna make everybody happy. There are going to be people that are mad because you did it. There are going to be people that are mad that you didn't do it, and there are going to be people that's mad that you didn't do it in a different way. So as long as you stay true to
Mhm.
yourself and what you're trying to put forward, then like you got to be happy with the product and what you put out. You can't make everybody happy, and then when you do that, you have no product at all because you'll never release.
Oh yeah,
anything.
we've seen those movies. When they try to make everybody happy, we all just sit there
Yeah,
and we're
and
like,
it's
they're
like, oh my
pandering to us.
God.
Awesome, good job, guys.
It's like, what is this? This could have been written
Oh,
better. It gets
it's
very
kind of like the
lazy,
TikTok effect if you think about it.
Yeah.
It's like the TikTok effect if you really think about it, because if you look at all of the negative comments that you receive on a video, it is always less than the likes that you receive on that same video. It's very rare that you see a video that has more comments than likes. And even then, when the comments are there, a lot of them are positive still.
So
It's just how you tend to look at it.
as a question asker on TikTok, I will find that to be less often true for myself. Comments sometimes out.
Well,
way-
you kind of mess up the rest of
I
me.
do. I mess up the whole concept by what I do. But yeah, the concept of complaints is asinine. People are going to complain. You can people will complain before you even released something. They will be ready to do so, not even knowing you or knowing you. If you like, it doesn't matter. The humans are designed to complain about shit, and it's just how we're built, I think.
Everybody's a critic, which means nobody really is.
But we have to be gracious critics. That's the trick.
Yes.
So
Oh, that's the trick.
that's the trick for critics. Only for
Oh.
critics, not for
Yeah.
everybody else. I
Yeah.
cannot speak to anyone else. Just
Whoa.
for critics. We just have to be gracious. Meaning that we just have to accept that even when we call something trash, we have to try to find something positive about it if possible. Because I don't think this is something that not wholesome movie talk. Movies Are Therapy said that I really, really liked. He jumped on TikTok and was like, look, even the thing that we always claim is trash or garbage, which are really unfortunate terms we shouldn't be using to describe art at all, because that's just discounting all the hard work that was put into it alone. We need to at least accept that even some of the things we're watching have some redeeming qualities, even if we didn't like them. Somebody else liking them means it had a redeeming quality. That in
Right.
itself means it's a good thing. So if somebody else enjoyed a movie, I don't want to trash on it as hard because I want to let them enjoy it. So that's part of being a gracious critic, is recognizing that I can criticize this film without destroying the people that made it or like it.
No, true. Yeah.
So I don't know. And that's, I think, what inspired the Ratatouille quote again in my head. It's been running through my head since 2007, but yeah. Oh, and I know there aren't a ton of people that don't know us on here that are in the comments. But if you are new, you can go to our TikTok page and follow all of us. But you can find all of us in a great little movie TikTok short that we all did together. That's pretty fun.
Yep, it was
Yeah.
fun.
Anyway,
It was. It
I-
was
I-
very
All
well
right,
done.
back to Chip and Dale.
we can do that. Yes,
Yes.
yes. We spent a half an hour. We had a full like woo.
Yeah.
half
Yeah,
hour.
but that's fun though. Like
Yes.
that's the what else are we gonna do? Like,
No,
we only have
exactly.
one movie.
That was like our commercial. That was like our pre-roll.
Well, we do have actually. Before we get back to Chippendale, why don't we take
Mm-hmm.
our couple of minute break? Because Sean is back. He's no longer got the
Yay,
virus. His voice
Sean.
is almost healed, and he had a lot of great movies that are coming out this week that he really wanted to talk about. So we're gonna run the pre-review, and we will be right
Back.
back.
How's it going, Real Study viewers? I'm Sean, and I'm finally back with this week's pre-review. I'm so glad to be back for this coming week. Memorial Day is going to hold a lot of awesomeness for us. Let's start things off with Top Gun Maverick. I am pretty excited for this. You know, I love the first Top Gun. I really like aviation films, and I've heard this one's going to include a lot of newer planes. I love to see them in action. And, you know, I'm sure the story will be really great, but man, I really can't wait for all those in-cockpit action scenes. It's just going to be so incredible. It's going to be a great movie. Next this week, we have Obi-Wan Kenobi. Finally, we get to see what happened during those times when Obi-Wan was on Tatooine watching over Luke, how he evaded the Jedi hunters and everybody that came after him. I'm super excited for this. Obi-Wan's probably one of my favorite Jedis of all time, and to learn more of his story will just be incredible, so I'm very excited for this. If it was any other weekend, nothing would top Obi-Wan Kenobi, but this weekend we get Stranger Things Season 4. Now, I have been invested in this show since the beginning. It is absolutely incredible. I've loved every minute of it. I've watched all 3 seasons so far numerous times. I will say, I am nervous with the dark edge that is coming with this 4th season, and the fact that they have multiple times compared this season to Game of Thrones of Stranger Things. I care deeply for each of these characters. They are all incredible in their own way. Cannot wait to watch this. Nothing better happened to Steve. All right, everybody. Thanks for letting me take some time off to recover. I'm still not at 100%, but I'm so glad I was able to make it back for this week's episode.
And we are back from the pre-review, and that was Sean. Glad to see him back with us. Of course, he is always going to tell us what's coming out and give his views on what the movies might be like, hence the pre-review. So there was a topic that got brought up based upon Top Gun. Lala said that when she was watching Multiverse of Madness, she saw a huge reveal in the Maverick trailer. And that brings up an interesting conversation about why they would put that in there. And I've heard some theories if you want to hear my take. I'm going to take that as a yes. So silence is a yes around here.
I'm
So,
completely oblivious to the conversation because I ran to the restroom.
I'm
I'm interested.
okay. So they'll put out a teaser trailer. Then they'll put out sometimes second teaser trailer or trailer 1. These days, usually trailer 1, 2, and 3 is a pretty consistent thing. And then they do a series of TV spots, depending on the movie. They'll do way too many. In the third trailer and in some of the TV spots, the reason they start revealing more and more is that if you haven't seen the trailers previously or aren't skipping the trailers, you may not watch the movie unless they tell you this cool thing happens. So they've done audience testing to find out that some people do want that spoiler in order to get them to want to see the film. And
Not
so
me.
the rest of us get screwed. So that's what I
Not me, because I was okay. So I've never seen the original, like the first Top Gun, because it came out in the same year I was born. So I didn't see that movie. And so I've never seen it, but I've seen clips and seen things, but you don't get to like the meat of like the film. So watching the trailer for Top Gun Maverick, now I've seen Multiverse of Madness like 2 times, and they've shown that trailer both times, but then they've shown different things both times. The first time I saw Multiverse of Madness, the trailer was very straightforward. It was like very ominous. He's coming back, that like typical one.
Right.
The next one that I went to go see showed like maybe a 10-15 minute clip of him training them in the air. Like I thought I was watching a movie. It just played.
It was
I was
fun.
like, it No, it was great. It was great. I was like, this is nice. I was like, this actually made me want to go see the movie. And then when I saw the trailer in a TV spot or like a streaming spot, I don't know because I don't have actual TV like that.
Who does?
It like everything's streaming nowadays. Like, what are we doing? It showed Miles Teller's character as the son of a previous
Oh, that's in preview
Top
one.
Gun. Is that a preview one?
Yep.
Okay, so but I saw like multiple ones.
And the reason I think they
was
put in that
very-
preview. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was very disappointed because as a person who hadn't seen the movie, for me to be like, okay, I want to see this movie, I'm gonna go back and watch the first one, and then to have that reveal in the movie would be great. But to kind of already know that, it's kind of like because now you see why he's like such an arrogant little bastard because of who his father previously. But it's like that would have been a great for me personally. I think that would have been a great reveal in the film itself.
This is why I think
people
trailers are
see it
terrible
once.
because all of these things would be great reveals. Just to see the Miles Teller character, where you'd be like, oh, okay, this is another hot shot, and then he tells you who he is. You're like, oh, you're that
Yeah.
guy. Okay. Yeah, I think the reason they put that in even in trailer one was because it's been so long that they were trying to get old fans hyped. So
No, I get why. I just don't like it. Like I understand why they do it. They do it so people can have like a factor and they'll make them like want to go see it. But sometimes, because I'm pretty sure this is a Tom Cruise movie, so I'm pretty sure there are a couple more spots probably in the movie that's like amazing because that's how his movies kind of roll.
Right.
But like it's like one of those things where it's like they put such significant things in the trailer that it kind of like sometimes they put all the best things in the trailer and then when you go see the movie's trash because you just saw everything in the trailer.
most comedies.
Trailers aren't supposed to give away everything in the film, and I mean like emotion. I mean like plot points. I mean everything you can cinematically experience from a film. Trailers are not supposed to give away. It's supposed to give you like a heightened feeling to draw you in, but it shouldn't give away everything. And a lot of these trailers now give away everything, and it sucks as a moviegoer most of the time.
Mr. Marvel, how many movie trailers have you shut off because you started to realize they were just going to tell you the whole thing?
None. I have this weird thing
Wow.
about movie trailers and spoilers. I don't want somebody to say I've got something that you don't know, and they basically spoil something that was not intended to be released. I have this perception of movie trailers and stuff that even if it tells me too much than I needed to know, I'm okay with that because it's official releases. As long as it's officially released, I'm okay with it because it means that there's still other stuff in the movie. There's been very few movies that have pretty much told me everything I needed to know, and there weren't anything, and it wasn't anything left to the imagination. I know there's one, but I can't think of it off the top of my head.
No, I think I want to start a new TikTok series: movie trailers that have ruined the movie in the trailer. I think that's a new series, just because I've seen ones where they literally show you the ending.
I want to credit every time you make a video.
I'm just saying they'll show the ending. Like some trailers
The thing that bothers
show it all.
the thing that bothers me, and this is where my love for Marvel gets tested on the regular, is when I see something in the trailer, and then it's not in the movie.
No, yeah, no,
That bothers me. That bothers me more. Well, it's not so much the lies; it's also final edits. This has been a pet peeve of mine since the first Jurassic Park was released in 1993, when we got the first trailers in 1992, because there is a scene in the beginning of Jurassic Park when they're going through in the Jeeps before they get to the Brachiosaurus, where you see Ellie Sattler grab the plant that she's talking about when they pull up to the Brachiosaur, and she says that as she's pulling it, this shouldn't be here. And we see that as they're pulling up, and it's a very quick, this shouldn't be here, which seems very thrown away, but it's because they had to make up for it because it wasn't in the scene that was shown in the trailers. And that drives me nuts. To this day, that is the only thing that I hate most about Jurassic Park. And I love Jurassic Park.
That's
you don't
hilarious.
They rushed that scene.
You don't hate that they
Because-
are missing the little baby Triceratops that they built that they could have put in the movie and didn't?
That I'm okay with. But like they showed me something in the trailers where Ellie looks over and sees the foliage, and she reaches out and grabs the plant and pulls it in and is looking at it. And it's like, this shouldn't be here. And then they rushed it in the actual final cut, and that drives me nuts to this day.
That's fair.
How weird I am.
No.
I
We're
dig
all
it.
different about it.
No, I dig it.
Yeah.
I mean, I just made a TikTok about the movie Morbius, about how Sony lied throughout that whole
Listen, I
all
think
them
they lied to the
trailers.
actors too.
Listen here.
All but one,
And
maybe.
honestly, this is what I don't understand, and I'm sorry, this is a spoiler alert for anybody who hasn't seen Morbius.
You
but
might
this is what
make
I
me
don't
want to watch
understand.
it.
Listen, this is what I don't understand.
I'm not willing to pay $19 for it.
At the end of the film, after like the after credit scene shows Michael Keaton's character meeting up with Morbius. All right. So this is what I don't get about Sony sometimes. This is why I believe Sinjin Chapman when he said that it's like the writer's room was like, you know, like an AI that just had vampire and make a movie out of it. Like that's Sony's writer's room. That is Sony's writer room to me because they have Michael Keaton's character come up, they meet each other, he finds him, they meet each other to pretty much set up like the Sinister Six. And Adrian Toomes blames Spider-Man for being in this world. That how did he even get to this world? Like I understand it is magic, but the spell from No Way Home was that like people that knew Peter Parker is Spider-Man. That means Adrian Toomes should have went nowhere. He should have stayed in the same location in which he was at. There is no reason. Okay,
or it's a different Adrian Toomes.
But it still doesn't explain why he would go to a different.
No, I know.
Person's
you're right.
universe.
You're right.
And then for him to be like, oh, this has something to do with Spider-Man. It's like, Sony, do you not know the movies that you're writing? Like, this doesn't make sense. And then he did the spell, so he should have never been there in the first place. He should have.
They got even Far From Home. They got wrong with the 8 years later, or not Far From Home. Homecoming. They said 8 years later and was completely wrong. So they have.
I'm just
Sony,
like, what's happening? Like
Sony was a company that made technology for decades, and then all of a sudden they were like, let's make movies. And I don't understand what.
And they bought Columbia and TriStar, who were much better without them.
Way better without them. I remember when the TriStar logo and that Pegasus would show up, I'd be like, this will be a good film. That's what I would think. Same with Columbia. I'd be like, oh, Ghostbusters.
Like New Line. It's like
yes.
New Line. Like you saw the New Line, like you knew it was going to be a good film.
Right.
You had no idea what it was going to be, but you knew it was going to be good.
Right. It's kind of like now, I guess we have A24 now that does that. When you say an A24 logo, you're like, this has a good chance.
And then it was like it was for Bad Robot for like, 2 years.
Yeah, there were like 4 films, and then there was so much lens flare, I think we all gave up.
I remember when I saw the Bad Robot logo for the first Star Trek remake, I was super excited, and I loved that film. But then,
no, but it's crazy. So
it dipped and came back.
J.J. Abrams, I know he like this, like Star Trek or whatever. I mean Star Wars or whatever. But does he have a deal with Disney?
I mean, anybody who works with Disney that much does. I mean, he can, just like Favreau or anybody.
Because Alias is on Disney Plus.
So Alias is owned by ABC.
And Alias is actually loosely based off of Jessica Jones in the Marvel Comics.
So, but it's anything owned by ABC or anything owned by half of Hollywood now. Is
okay, I was about to say, because I'm like, who owns? Okay, because I was just like, I love Alias. Listen, it's been times where I couldn't find anybody streaming Alias. I would listen. I found a way to watch Alias. That's all I'm gonna say on this stream. I love Alias like so much.
Is it loaded with mystery boxes?
It's honestly, there's one.
Well, yeah.
There's one main mystery box.
I mean, that's JJ's shtick. Like he's like, oh, mystery box. You know?
No, honestly, and also his shtick because I didn't
lens
watch
flare.
Lost. Everybody,
it's easy to get lost.
Everybody keeps telling me about Lost. I've never watched Lost, but it
don't
be
do
JJ
it.
Abrams thing where he does not finish what he starts.
So
and then he goes in so many twisty turns that you're like, I guess it made sense.
So here's what I suggest, honestly. Watch 2 seasons and then just read the synopsis for the rest of the series. Seasons 1 and 2 are actually good. After that, they start asking you to think of more questions than they give answers to. And that's for the rest of the show. So just
Lost gives me Lord of the Flies vibes. Am I right or wrong?
Sort of. Like in the sense that they're on a beach and they're surviving and there are groups that don't agree.
Stop there.
Yeah, no, it's like the first season really is good. And they leave you on a really like, holy crap, what is this? And that's why we all loved it. It was much like Heroes season 1, where we're all like, wow.
It's definitely one of those things where it definitely gets you thinking, and you kind of find like okay, so Evangeline Lilly, like that was like her real breakout role, I think, was with that.
It was.
There were some people that kind of came out from there. But
I know all the people.
Yeah.
No, I just don't know the show.
And I don't know. I feel like J.J. Abrams, like he had like some really good content. It's like M. Night Shyamalan, but every so often M. Night Shyamalan gets like a wind and like makes something decent, and then he goes
Mhm.
off and does something else. Um, but like JJ has the concept and the ability to do something good. Cloverfield was fantastic.
I've just realized
Um,
something. J.J. Abrams is the anti George Lucas. J.J. Abrams is a really good director, and he should stick to that.
Hmm.
George Lucas is a really
Wow.
good story writer producer, and he should stick
He
to
should
that.
stick to
If
that.
they got together,
That movie would be
just putting it out there.
amazing.
Just
yeah, as long as
George,
it's not
JJ.
Howard the
You
Duck.
know. No,
That's
but
funny.
imagine if JJ had done a Howard the Duck.
Lots of lens flares.
I mean, at least they'd be digital.
I mean,
and-
right over
nice
that, right
duck
over
nips.
that. Honestly, right over the duck dip scene, it'll be a lens flare. You wouldn't even know what you saw. You know what I mean? It'll be great.
It'd been,
It'd been
he would've
great.
pulled out of his apartment, and there would have been tons of lens flares.
You know,
like,
it'd been
moving
great.
along.
It'd been great.
I can
Yeah.
see it.
See, that's the saddest part of my claim to fame on this show is the fact that I ruined a lot of people's childhood because everyone saw Howard the Duck on television because you didn't spend money to watch it, and then you realize there was an original cut. The theatrical release was a lot worse.
See, I had it on
Yeah, I think I've seen
VHS,
it.
so I watched the
So
terrible version.
Yeah, I think
My
we had
parents
it on
didn't
VHS,
censor me.
I remember.
My parents let me watch whatever I wanted. Like
I
honestly,
know mine did
yeah,
too.
I was
Mine
able
did
to
too.
watch
I was
anything.
like 3-4 years old watching The Omen and stuff like that, like the original Omen.
Thank
So,
you,
like,
Ray.
My
Ray,
parents didn't have me watch anything.
Ray likes my JJ Lucas.
No,
Yeah,
we
that
did
could've been-
too.
No,
That
no, I'm not
was
saying you guys
good.
didn't. I just it's
Could you
nice. that
imagine?
Okay.
Could you imagine if Disney would have taken his Lucas's writings for what he wanted the sequel trilogy to be, and then had JJ
just
direct
do it. Yeah,
Yeah,
that it could have been cool.
mind you, I still like the sequel trilogy,
me too.
but you know, it's kind of like I guess it's always the question of what should have been, because when Lucas came out and said that he gave like a whole journal of what the sequel trilogy should be, and they didn't use it, you knew people were going to be just like, oh, it's trash now.
Yeah, if I pay $4 billion for something, I'm not listening to you about it. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I'll read what
that's
you
just
got.
real talk,
I'll
yeah.
read it. I'll be like,
You-
interesting.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh,
Interesting.
that
Oh, I
page.
might-
This
I might
page.
take a little tidbits,
Yeah.
sprinkle a little pepper, a little salt, but I ain't gotta make the whole recipe.
Not
though.
for $4
Like,
billion.
Yeah.
Not for $4
So
billion.
you realize
Like,
that we just paid you so that we're the bosses now, right?
right.
Yeah, pretty much.
And then when fans are like, Disney ruined it, I'm like, so they still made billions because they ruined it? I don't understand this logic. You guys, you fanboys keep talking about how Disney ruined everything, and yet you keep going and watching these movies and shows. So like, I don't
Yes.
understand how they
Please
ruined
go
anything.
watch it 4 or 5 times so you can list all the reasons why you
Right,
hate it.
please. And then we'll get more.
Please.
And then you can hate those and we'll get more. Please. We don't mind.
I love it. I don't mind either. I'm just liking the way, and not to get back on like the whole like racial thing, but just kind of popped up for me. I'm liking the way everything's just moving in a better, more inclusive. It's moving slowly, but it's still moving in a way that like if I ever had kids, hopefully the world would be just a touch better when they're like moving and shaking.
And it's like people like are complaining because Disney like is basically cashing out with like Galaxy's Edge and the Galactic Star Cruiser and things like that. Mind you, I probably wouldn't spend that money to go to the Galactic Star Cruiser, but if they ever did at California Adventure, did like a stay at the helicarrier, I would sell a kidney.
So I was begging the world, the universe, whatever you want to call it, for years for a Star Wars theme park because I was like, look at the amount of stuff that they could do.
Mhm.
And when Disney bought it, I went, they need to build a theme park. And it's the first thing I said. Like right out the gate, I was like, screw movies, build a theme park. That's what people want. And I was not wrong. Like people wanted a theme park. Like,
I mean, because people always want to go. It's just smart to me. Like Disney World, Disneyland, Universal Studios, all these amazing places. Like give people what they want. If you release a movie or you release a character that gets so much hype, make that an attraction. Like as a big nerd, you know how much I want to go to Universal Studios and like walk like to Hogsmeade and have on my cloak and my like how I don't care how old I get, I'm going to do that sometime in my life.
even past
like-
all that, just the back lots as movie nerds would be fun. Just to see the
No,
sets, just to
literally,
see
just
the
to see the
actors in their
sets.
world.
Like,
Yeah.
But like you want to immerse yourself. You want to be in these worlds. You want to be in these worlds that you know do not exist. You know how cool it would be for me to walk on the sound stage that like Tobey Maguire was on when he did like the first Spider-Man, like walk that street or whatever. You know how cool that would be. Like how much money you would take from all of us if you had these these things where we can immerse ourselves in these things. Oh,
I'm pretty
I
sure.
can go and pose like Leia in front of a big like
I can go
you know
meet Megatron if I want to. Like,
you know what I mean? Like these are things that we want. Like these are things in like just because like going to Comic Con, it just blew my mind. I saw the oldest Flash I ever seen in my life, and I was like, this is who I aspire to be as I get older. You know how many older like men and women? I don't mean like people in their 50s or I mean like people that's easily in their 70s, 80s dressed up as their favorite character
I like
and
that I'm
walking
still
around
considered a
Comic
young
Con.
nerd. Like,
I mean, I feel like you're right. Maybe that, and maybe that's just me. As you know, as we kept going, as we keep aging, I'm still be like, we young, we this age, we fine. But I want to be immersed in these things, and like they need to have these things, man. They need to, cause
absolutely.
I'll pay money for. Or like, what is it? I just got like either I saw it on like the CW thingy or somewhere, but they have a like Disney has a Pixar cruise.
Oh yeah.
And I know it's for children. I know, but I want to
But if you
go
have
so
kids, then you
bad.
can go.
Or even
Right.
siblings or nieces or
Right.
nephews.
So there's
But
like, I don't know.
I don't want to go with
So
none of them. They're gonna crap
Oh
my
please, I want
style.
to go to the Disney Wish Cruise for
Right.
the Marvel stuff. Like please,
Okay, so I need
yes.
to advocate for us rainy area folks. They need to start doing theme parks that are either mostly indoors or the theme park is meant to be wet or rainy. Like a Blade Runner theme park or something where it's always raining or something. Um, a
You could literally
Jurassic
put a
Park
theme
theme park
park
could happen up
in
here in
a big
Oregon.
warehouse. Do
Like
you have a
I
big
mean,
warehouse?
we don't, but we could. Like there are Amazon warehouses, so they could build them. Like it's possible. My point is that Oregonians would go, Washingtonians, we Pacific Northwesterners would go to a theme park if you had an indoor one that we could go to. I promise you, we would. Start building them up here, guys. Just saying.
Yeah, I could just see it. Like
Mhm.
they have like it's the Neo Matrix like lobby like fight like like land like it's all elevators and columns and you just run around and jump off of wet columns and
Yeah, I'll take it.
I would yeah I that's the only thing I could think of that was wet at the moment.
We could have Waterworld up here. We could have
Oh
Blade
please
Runner.
no,
We could have.
please no, and all the toilets are Mr. Coffees.
A river runs through it.
You ever
They
heard the
have
joke?
water.
It's like if there's anything that you took away from Waterworld, it was the idea that you could pee into a Mr. Coffee and get Taster's Choice.
I don't think I've ever heard that before, but thank you for that. Yeah, I don't know. Uh, when it comes to that stuff, I really hate living this far north because all of it's 700 miles away, and that's expensive, especially with gas the way it is now. Boy, we don't even need to do
True.
that.
Yeah.
And Comic Cons are at least 2 hours away from here, so like I live in a tiny little town.
I'm just happy Michigan has a Comic Con. Like I went 1,000 years without like knowing that they actually held one here. You know how many people I missed out on? But like now I live like 10 minutes from where they have it.
And the pictures that you post on Instagram are hilariously adorable. Like just how excited you are. I
No,
love it.
I'm smart. I was like, when I took the picture with like Katie last, I smiled so hard. I looked at the picture, I was like, I'm so disappointed in you. You smiled so hard. I was like, I was
It's
so
hard not
disappointed.
to when you meet these folks.
Like
It's
I was
like
just so
it's
excited.
fun.
No, I met Christopher Eccleston and I couldn't pay $100 for his autograph, but I would have paid $100 for a picture now. Okay, $100 for an autograph? No, sir. I would have. Freddie Prinze Jr. was $45. Like I'm just saying, just saying. But anyway, but I met Christopher Eccleston, and I was like, I walked up to the table, and I looked him straight in the eyes, and it kind of hurt my soul to do it. It's just he's so beautiful. And I just looked at him, and I go, I can't afford your autograph. So he put his hands out like this, and I grabbed his hand, and I just told him how much I loved him and how great he is, and I almost cried. He's like the first celebrity I almost cried when I talked to him to tell him how much I love him. Because he's my
Now the
doctor.
fact that he put his hands out like that is amazing.
No, like literally, he put his hands out, and I just grabbed his hand. It was like a
Trying to
great
think.
moment.
If I met Mark
will say,
Hamill,
like-
I would probably cry.
There's a lot. I mean, I will say like I got emotional like because I'll go and thankfully we've got one that's about an hour away from us and like with gas and stuff we were stressing about the idea of just commuting and my wife we winning that the hotel room right by the convention is like a godsend and so when we go in there and we talk to these people it's amazing to see how human they are And everybody says don't meet your heroes and stuff like that. But I will tell you something: when you go to conventions, with the exception of the ones like I'm a little bit cautious about seeing Simu Liu at Awesome Con because he's newly popular. I'm hoping that he's still humble about just about being who he is. But like you meet people like Brian Teague, Carl Urban,
I want to meet him
like
so
even
bad.
this was it what's his name he played LaRusso in Karate Kid. Why am I not thinking of his name right now? Daniel LaRusso.
Ralph Macchio.
Yes, Ralph Macchio. Like they were extremely decent people. Michael Bean, like just talking to him, like you could just tell he was excited that people were wanting to talk to him and when he just wanted to like he talked my ear off.
Mm-hmm.
I like kind of like I kind of need to go to the next line, but like when you meet people like that, it's kind of heartwarming. It makes you love them even more, I think.
When I met Henry Winkler, he was like that. He was just happy to have fans to talk to and wanted to sit there and chat with us about life and who doesn't want to meet the Fonz? Like that's who doesn't want to meet that guy? So everybody in the chat basically wants to tell me that they got to meet Mark Hamill so that I can just be jealous. It seems like Will Wilkins and Miranda both met him, and now I'm just jealous of the chat. So I'm jealous of the real students.
What was that? What's his name? Oh, what's his name? The Fonz.
Henry Winkler.
Henry Winkler. He was on an episode of Hollywood Reporter does like this like actors roundtables or whatever, and he was on an episode, and he was on one, and it was like I think it was like him and like Robert De Niro and Jamie Foxx, something like that. It was like a lot of people, and or maybe it was like him and Adam Driver and Tom Hanks. I think it was like all these people. And he was talking about literally kind of like what Smitty was talking about, like how he just wanted to be with his fans and all kind of stuff. And because the moderator was asking questions like, so how do you feel about like your fans and things like that? And a lot of them were saying like when it gets a little heavy and it's like this, that, and the other, and they all kind of have like little negative things to say. I won't say that they were very human, very real, and being like, it's a lot and kind of being around people and all kind of stuff. And Henry Winkler was like the only one that was like, oh, I love it, to still feel like I mean something to somebody, to give them like that type of joy. He's like, I love it outside. He's like outside autographs unto the last person.
Oh yeah,
like,
no,
regardless of like
he came
like,
down off
like,
the stage and like came down into the audience and just hung out like right at the front of the audience instead of standing above us or whatever.
To have you say that and then me remembering that, I was like, well, he was definitely just telling the truth then. I was like, because for you to kind of like confirm what he just said, I thought that was like really cool.
Yeah.
He's like that.
Some celebrities really are. Now there's some celebrities I met that they were just short with me, but I was like, oh, I met you. You weren't mean to me, but at the same time, I also I didn't pay you to meet you, which I know that's what you're here for. But I got to be behind the scenes at some cons because I was working them. And I always felt like I'm a vendor. It's a little different. Like I'm not a paying patron. I'm here with you. Like we're both here doing stuff. So like I'm just coming over to say hi, just like you might come by our shop or whatever. So I always felt kind of like the little badge should give you a little just more like, hey, how's it going? And you know what I mean, Tony, you've been an Artist Alley, and when you're on that side of the table, it's a little different when you're there. But I think Deep Roy was the one person who was just as short, and I don't mean that in a pun way. That came out terrible. That was very just not quick to speak to me. He was just standoffish, if you will. So
wait, who?
Deep Roy. He played the Oompa Loompa in the Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
Yeah.
He was also in Neverending Story. He played the snail.
He was the one that wrote on the snail.
Yeah.
And I kind of feel like you're not that famous to do that to me.
That's how I was just like, I just wanted to say hi.
He border guard in
I'm sorry.
Revenge of the Fallen in the Transformers movie.
But it's like how I was like, okay, all right, maybe if Christopher Eccleston did that to me, but still, you're not as relevant. I just love you because Doctor Who is what it is. But if he treated me like that, I'd be like, okay, bro, like be happy that I'm here.
See, when Bruce Campbell treats you that way, it's part of the way he personifies himself when he's at con. He likes to be sarcastic and kind of a dick, but that's his shtick. So if he was rude to me, I'd be like, oh, Bruce Campbell was rude to me. So like if you do that all the time, it's okay, right?
he's a Michigander like me, so
Right.
I would probably just dig what he's doing. I'll probably just do it
Do
back.
it back, right? And then he'd want you to, and then
You
it
know?
would like whenever he was on stage,
Yeah.
he would just layer it in, and people he would like give me $1, and they would, and he'd be like thanks. Like he wouldn't like literally give it back or anything. He would just take money from people.
I'd have been like,
Yeah,
he'd
he
ask me
was
for
great.
that. I'd be like, give me one first. Like I'd have been going back and forth with him
Right.
so hard. I like Bruce
Yep.
Campbell though. Yeah.
Yeah, no, he was a fun guy to meet. Well, anyway, we had to give a review on the
Chip
show,
and Dale.
and I actually feel like since we are doing just the one movie and we've been chatting, that I think 8:30 as a kill time tonight might be the best way to go. I'm pretty beat, so I think that's part of the reason. I'm assuming
That's
you guys
cool.
won't be bummed about that.
No, it's cool.
Pizza
Pizza
Papa
Papa.
needs to get paid.
Just ignore it.
Very
Leave it
true.
alone.
Very
Leave it
true.
alone.
Very true. That Will Wilkins. Very true.
That said, why don't we give our full not review but rating for the film, and then we can see if there's anybody worth rating.
Okay.
Rating, then rating.
Yeah, no big deal.
So,
Agreed.
Mr. Marvelite, go ahead.
Agreed.
I will say this. This movie is more than I expected it to be. It is worth another watch. It brought back all sorts of nostalgia while also being meta. I definitely liked this film. There's not much I can say. Yeah, the Peter Pan, like the parallel to that, it's kind of a little messed up because Disney's kind of acknowledging that it kind of did wrong by its own person. But at the same time, I mean, like the film is so on the nose, and I think it wasn't so much Disney doing it as the writers and the staff saying Disney needs to realize it's what it's done, and then let people call it out on it. So I mean, whoever came up with that to do that was being like was being very had to be very careful not to get called out by Disney, because if the executives would have figured out what they were doing, it would have been, kind of bad on them. But with that said, I'm going to say this is a solid 8. It's a good film. It's definitely kind of like this is what Space Jam wanted to be and could not do.
My God.
Like
Yes.
like it doesn't matter.
I agree.
Here's the thing. You had killer voice actors that were doing this, but there was no big name actor physically in this film. You didn't need a LeBron James. You just had the characters, and yes, you had some stellar voice acting for it. You had like Zipper being like the Allstate guy, and stuff like that. But honestly, it didn't need like some big name actor to support this group. And I really I don't know the actress name that was playing the cop that they kind of ended up partnering with, but I really hope that they this could be
Kiki
a great.
Lane.
Okay, this would be a great breakout role for her to maybe do some more things, and I think to get her some more recognition.
She was in Coming to America too.
Okay, I haven't seen it yet.
See, I have
Oh, yeah,
avoided
just
all
let me know.
comedy sequels.
I love the first one. I was really apprehensive about the
Yeah.
second one.
Same thing. I didn't watch Dumb and Dumber 2 or Zoolander 2, or just because I'm worried.
Listen, to me, Coming to America 2 or Coming to America, which is literally what it is a lot of people had issues with it. For me personally, it mimicked the same type of weird, hokey humor from the first one. It's just that it's more modern, and I think that's where it's because it's such a long, like a years long of a sequel that is trying to place itself within our world, and it can get a little like I don't think.
Is
But all in all,
McDowell's still a thing?
yes
Okay.
and no.
Oh,
I'm gonna just say that. So, and like where it takes place, it's very different, but still the same. I can't really. That's the best way I can explain it.
that's what I feel like all of them would be like. That's why I'm avoiding it. So
Yeah,
I will continue to avoid it.
I would love for y'all to watch it so we can talk about it. But I'm sorry if I cut you off, Mr. Marvelade. But go ahead.
No, solid 10. But like, I definitely want to see her in more stuff. I think she did a great job. I think she played off of like all of these fictional characters that she probably had no reference except for like little green like pictures of them or something. But she did a great job, and so I definitely liked it. It was an 8 for me, and then as a 12-year-old, definitely a 10. It would have been a 10 as a 12-year-old. I mean, it was definitely meta. I mean, listen, I love the crap out of Ace Ventura. this was right up my alley.
All right.
And I like Andy Samberg a little bit more because of this film.
Nice. Yes.
Yay!
Lala,
Yeah.
your take.
As a 12-year-old, I probably would have gave this like a 10 probably as a kid because it was chock full of like pretty much everything I've ever watched in my life. For the most part, like somebody went in my head and was like, all the animation jumping into this movie, and it was like, this is what it is. Me now, I give this film a solid 8. I'll give this film a solid 8. Like that Will Wilkins said, like this movie had no reason being this good. It was like funny and it was heartfelt. You got good voice actors in John Mulaney and Andy Samberg. Like it just hit the right tone, it hit the right spot. Like I do like that the Peter Pan character was kind of like a down on his luck. Like they flipped his own story on him. I like that. I do like the fact that they didn't fall into like the enemy trope where like I want to talk nice and soft, and I am in the same boat as you. And he was just like, you guys really are stupid enough to think that like I will fall for like he didn't fall into like that trope of being like we're all the same and then get hoodwinked somewhere. He kind of stayed the course as being like I'm justified for doing what I'm doing. This is why I'm right for doing what I'm doing. So I like that in the character. It's just a lot about this. I can keep going on and on about. I like the flip of the Bjornsson, like his Bjornsson, like how he went from being like, "If you want to have cheese," and it was like, "Oh, you want."
Oh, the eyebrows.
Yeah, the eyebrows.
I love like that moment. I was like, oh,
honestly, they could have easily flipped this a little bit and made it very dark and made it very much like a very because like. The J.K. Simmons fight with Kiki Lane was creepy, and the fact that he was like Gumby, he slid underneath the.
He was like the T-1000.
You know what I mean? Like he melted and like slid underneath the door.
And you heard the
Well, I love how she like put the
door.
cage on his head and like started splitting him.
Like,
Yeah.
And then he just like it was like it just had great elements to it. It was directed very well, and it was just like I didn't expect this to be good. And you know me, anything a 7 and up, I'll watch again. And this will definitely pop on again somewhere in the near future because it was just like I said, it's an easy watch. And did y'all know that I'm just looking up the actors who played everybody? Did you know Tim Robbins played Ugly Sonic? Tim Robinson played Ugly Sonic.
Tim Robinson?
Tim Robinson, yeah.
Who is Tim Robinson?
Do you remember the TV show The Detroiters? Like Sam Richardson and Tim Robinson? Like y'all know, I don't even know who Tim Robinson is.
I don't. I'm trying to look through the cast and I don't.
He's a Detroit, Michigan native.
That might be. Oh, I see. That's okay. Let me see him. No, I don't know him. I do not know. I do now, but I don't. I did not before now. I have to say that what you guys just spoke about, especially with Captain Putty and his fight scene, that the animation styles being completely mixed was necessary because if it was all 3D, that would have been a very different scene. So there's a very good point there. Because he was clay, it worked.
Yeah.
There was a sock puppet. Did you guys catch that?
Yes, the cop.
I was like, there's a sock puppet now. Okay, and I said that out loud because why not?
But it was just great seeing all the other characters from other scenes. It's not even remotely close.
And the scale of the apartment building, like you're thinking, oh, this is the apartment building they're inside, and all of a sudden the cop shows up at the window.
She's in the window,
oh,
right? Yeah, that was great.
And the ET versus Batman versus ET.
The Bat versus ET.
The Bat versus ET.
And it wasn't quite well enough to like tell that it was Batman, but it was good enough that we knew. We knew.
Listen, that scene is so funny when he's like cradling ET, and he's like, "I love you," or something. He said that he was like, "Fine."
Yeah. ET forgives or something like that.
Right. He's like, ET forgives. But he was like, "Fine." I was like. The funniest thing.
So weirdly enough, the two writers on this were both writers on How I Met Your Mother. Just putting that out there. To me, that makes some sense. I think Law might agree with that. So for myself, as we've talked about it, I will let some of that problem I had with Dale. It does make sense to me. Uncanny Alley was one of the freakiest things I've seen in a cartoon movie ever. It was very uncomfortable during the whole thing. The whole scene, every moment they show up in that alleyway to find Seth Rogen's barbarian character, Bob the Viking warrior, you will, was too much for me. But So I'm going to give this a solid 7 because it is rewatchable, and now I kind of want to go back and enjoy some things that I missed before. But I still feel off, but I think that's kind of part of it. I do feel like this is Roger Rabbit 2.0. I do feel like they kind of basically said it's the same universe
Yeah,
without
it is.
saying it.
Mm-hmm. It is.
By him
'Cause
dancing on the
Roger
dance
was
floor.
there. Yeah,
Right.
Roger was there. So
And they reference Jessica. So, like, both of them.
I mean, to have Paula Abdul and the cat.
Yes.
That was great.
next to each other
Scat
was-
Cat, that was
I
great.
was like, yes. I was like, that was so good. They were just dancing and high fiving each other. I thought she was happy.
Well, there was a South Park character at one point. I think the dad was in one of the scenes as you swipe
Yep.
by. So, like,
Uh,
I couldn't believe
Yeah.
it, the number of
He was
cameos.
in the sauna. He was in the sauna with the pigs or something like that. Yeah.
Yep.
and can we just say the fact that Alan Oppenheimer played He-Man and Skeletor in the movie, and like
Mhm.
the history that he has of like Falcor, He-Man and the Masters of the Universe Revelations, like the 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo, Transformers. He was even on Who's the Boss. Like this guy has got like one of the most impressive, like I'm not even sure if there's a year that he has not worked.
Oh, yeah. A lot of voice
Like, he's
actors have
just-
that. They've been working for a long time and a
Yeah,
lot
long
every year.
time.
Can we also talk about the Rick and Morty reference that's not a Rick and Morty reference?
Yes.
Oh, when they were going
Rick-
through all the different
No, no,
types
no.
of characters.
Chris Parnell is the agent. Jerry from Rick and Morty is the agent for Dale. So Jerry is Dale's agent.
Right. And then they also showed they did it as a cameo of like
is that a
the
Rick
different
and
ways that
Morty
they could change
reference?
Chip and Dale.
So the actor that plays Jerry in
Yeah,
Rick
I
and Morty
know.
is
But is,
so
but is that a,
so in a
is that a
sense he always plays the same character, and Jerry is that character, and that's kind of a running joke. So in a sense, yes.
I didn't catch that boat.
That is what it is. Okay, so 7. And then if I were a kid, 12 years old, if this came out, that's exactly when this show came out. I was, I think, 12 years old. It came out in 89. So, or no, 91. Why does it say 89 when I looked it up earlier?
What came out in '89?
Chip and
Well, it
Dale
said
Rescue Rangers,
1979
1989 to 1990. So yeah, I was 12 when it came out. So it's weird because they talked about 91, but I think those were reruns. Regardless, I would have given this a 10 as well, although I think it would have been confused by a lot of the self-referential stuff that we didn't have then. I think I would have been like,
91 was the year that they closed on the 3rd season. That's probably what it was.
oh, I thought that they joked about only having 1 season.
No, they did 3 seasons of Rescue Rangers.
Interesting. Did you notice they were listing off some of the episodes as hundreds? I thought that was interesting. There was a lot of like misnomers, and I think they were just playing off of everything. That said, 7 and 10, I think generally well-received film for The Real Study. I do want to hear what Brian has to say, even if it's just a little blurb.
Yeah.
That'll be fun. So next
Hopefully we'll
week,
do a TikTok.
right? Hopefully. Next week, we will be having a guest. He is Josh, the horror guy from TikTok. If you guys don't follow him, there will be a link in the Discord, as well as just look him up. I promise you will find him. He'll be on, and we will be reviewing all A24 horror films. And in fact, we've already got them ready to go. If you look here, we'll be reviewing The Witch, Midsommar, and the movie X, which just got released this year, as well as on digital. So all of these are available, and I'll post where to find them once I do that on the Discord.
Good evening and welcome.
Also, just because you mentioned this before the show as well, and I figured because, I guess being that it was Chip and Dale, we have not used the F word at all in this episode. It's kind of because we're saving it up because next week we will probably be hearing a lot of the F bomb. So just remember the Real Study will probably be more adult rated when it comes to the conversation because of the horror films.
Well, the content's going to be heavy duty.
Yes.
Especially when you get to the movie X. It's pretty heavy duty.
Yeah.
So,
Mind you, the rest of them take my, I don't curse, so they take mine, but
I will gladly
I think
take
we're gonna
yours.
all have to like.
It'll be fun. It'll be fun. So yes, prepare for
All right.
a lot of horror, a lot of high production quality horror, and we'll have fun with it. That said, this has been episode 29 of The Real Study. I'm Mr. Snippets, and you guys have a great night. Oh, now we're gonna raid, and we're gonna raid.
Oh.
Oh, let's see, is he still on? This is one of the people I follow. His name is President Noir. He is playing. I can't tell what he's playing. Something to do with Looney Tunes. Sounds good enough for us. Here we go.
Oh, multiverses.
He's got now. Right now, he's playing Shaggy versus Harley. That's interesting. So that's who we're gonna raid.
Yep.
You guys have a great evening.
Bye.
Bye.
A few more seconds. We really are raiding. I promise. All right.
You
Have
made
a
me
great
say
night, guys.
goodbye to Welby. Bye.